Breaking, Iran has rejected all American demands in the talks today in Geneva, Switzerland, and it looks like war's the only thing left. The U.S. asked Iran to destroy the 3 main nuclear facilities, which I thought were destroyed in June, by the way, transfer all remaining enriched uranium to the United States, which is worth like billions of dollars, halt all uranium enrichment permanently, no timeline, forever, and accept a permanent agreement with no expiration date and no way to get out of it. This deal is essentially a full surrender from Iran. After Iran rejected, Steve Witkoff, the top negotiator for Trump, told the Wall Street Journal that he was shocked, meaning the only thing left now is for a war between the two countries. The 3 nuclear facilities that America wants Iran to destroy were supposedly destroyed back in June, and they used to have cameras. America could see inside of them. But in 2017, that deal which Obama made, Trump ripped it up and withdrew from. So it now looks like that war is the only option left.
An attack on Iran has been declared inevitable as US stealth fighters arrive in the war zone. 11 of America's most advanced warplanes are now standing by to smash Iran's air defenses. Israeli officials said they believed that a US strike is now inevitable, with both the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Gerald R. Ford, the most powerful warship on Earth, now both in range for an attack. Negotiations appeared doomed as Iran continued to dodge concessions on its nuclear aims and refused to discuss ballistic missiles or protest crackdowns. The American Raptors are seen as the last key component to be deployed before Trump gives an attack order.
So it looks like, guys, from every report that war is now inevitable because the terms that were set up for Iran, well, it would be a complete surrender. These are things that they just refuse to do. And Iran, as we know, they're not going to go down without a fight. They're not going to just roll over. Now, opinions are varying on a lot of different sides. Some are saying that the U.S., of course, our military, our capabilities, like our technology, is so much more advanced that we will be able to destroy them quickly. But there's another side of this coin that you have to understand, where even General Raising Cane was saying that he's seeing this is not some quick military operation. This isn't like Venezuela, right? Where we can just go in, take the leader and it's a wrap. No. Iran is very different, okay? This is a somewhat of a superpower, okay? And so to understand how deep this goes, we got to understand the weaponry that they have, the strategic moves that are going on. And then I want to give you kind of even though they were saying they have certain types of weapons, you have to understand they come from China. And there's not really, some believe that it can just kind of be a paper tiger, that what they're claiming that they have, they don't really have it. Okay. And this is what China has been known to do, or they develop weapons, but they aren't really as capable or I guess I would say as sturdy, okay, as the US weapons are. But I want to walk you through this. And I also want to show you how this war, which will inevitably, if this takes place, could potentially, and I believe, and most people believe, will end up being a world war, and how that ties directly to prophecy and how we are essentially, as I have been telling you for many months now, in the end times. We are.
50,000 U.S. troops are now within Iran's ballistic missile range. Iran has said it won't strike first, but if attacked, it could launch 30,000 ballistic missiles, 1,000 hypersonic missiles, and 100,000 drones. These hypersonic missiles are unstoppable, reaching targets in just 5 minutes. And Chinese satellite intel clearly shows U.S. troop positions to Iran. The USS Gerald Ford and another carrier have arrived in the Middle East, while a second carrier was spotted in the Mediterranean heading toward Iraq. Iran has publicly announced it will fire hypersonic missiles capable of destroying $10 billion worth of U.S. aircraft, as no current defense system can stop them. Israel currently appears to be staying out of the conflict. U.S. naval strike groups, fighter jets, tankers, and reconnaissance planes continue arriving 24/7 to maintain maximum pressure and respond to any immediate threat. If war breaks out, all U.S. carriers and nearby warships are at extreme risk due to Iran's advanced hypersonic capabilities.
There's real danger here for Bahrain, for the United Arab Emirates, for Saudi Arabia, especially in the Eastern Province, which is where most of the oil is. This isn't going to be a country of 92 million people just rolling over and accepting defeat without a shot being fired. And one final point too. I don't know why the Western media are not talking about the fact that Iran has developed hypersonic missiles. The United States doesn't have hypersonic missiles. We're working on one, but we don't have any idea what a hypersonic missile might do to an aircraft carrier, for example.
I have an idea. Even the Yemenis have hypersonic missile capability. It's extraordinary that the United States does not. But these hypersonic missiles are essentially undefendable. They can only be defended at disproportionate cost at the exhaustion of scarce anti-missile weaponry and systems. So they are, as George W. Bush would put it, they are misunderestimating the Iranian military capability, which has, of course, been greatly enhanced since the 12-day war of last year. First of all, China and Russia have been shipping in like Billio, big transporters with electronic warfare, with anti-aircraft capability. Iran is much stronger than it was in the 12-day war, and Iran did not use its cutting-edge missiles in the 12-day war, but will certainly use them in the next war, if war there is. So there are multiple reasons for not beginning this war.
The U.S. has launched wars before, but when it comes to Iran, the consequences are so dangerous that it still hasn't pulled the trigger. In Iraq and Libya, Washington acted fast. Both countries were militarily weak, but Iran is different. Unlike Iraq and Libya, Iran has built a deep and powerful missile and drone arsenal, including key systems like Shahab-3, a medium-range ballistic missile capable of striking targets over 1,300 kilometers away. Sejil, a solid-fuel missile with a range close to 2,000 kilometers, designed for rapid launch and harder interception, and Fateh 110, precision-guided missiles built specifically to hit military bases accurately. With these weapons, Iran can target U.S. military bases across the Middle East and can also threaten U.S. aircraft carriers, not with a single missile, but through large-scale saturation attacks using missiles and drones together. Then come the choke points. Iran can disrupt the Strait of Hormuz, through which nearly 1/5 of the world's oil flows.
And we're going to finish this video out. I want to show you the capabilities of like what China is actually shipping over, giving that information, and also tying it into biblical prophecy. But I just wanted to really quickly show you one way that you can support the work that I'm doing here, the research. Fight back against the censorship, because there's been a lot of it lately, okay, is to go over to Real Melanie King and get some merch. I'm just highlighting my Yahweh collection that you guys are loving. This is one of the ones I have for men. This one in particular is front and back. It says, every breath speaks his name. Every breath speaks his name. I have these for women, men. Now, these aren't front and back, but some of them are. But I just wanted to show you the different colorways, the different styles that I have these in. You guys have been loving these. Again, there's just a little bit of close-ups. Okay, and I've designed all of these because, you know, in these dark times, we've got to live our values out loud. You know, people are looking for hope. This is a hoodie that I have it front and back, as well as mugs now, okay? Different types of mugs and different colorways, all saying Yahweh, every breath speaks his name, even water bottles, and I'm adding even more. And I really love these mugs. They have the color on the inside. So if you want to support my channel, you can head to realmelanieking.com. The link for this store will be below in the description box, as well as other ways that you can support the work we have going on. Now, let's get back to the video.
Is nearing a deal to buy supersonic anti-ship missiles from China, meant to stop or sink U.S. aircraft carriers. These are not hypersonic missiles, which are faster, they are supersonic. So it goes about Mach 2.5 to Mach 3. The Chinese-made CM302 has a range of about 300 kilometers and about 250 to 500 kilogram payload. So yeah, they could definitely put a hole in one of our bad boys. But here's why I'm not too worried about it. For one, even though the Chinese have marketed this missile since 2016 as a carrier killer, and it has a very impressive list of stats, they say it has a 90% target strike probability. The only problem with that little claim is it's only been fired within China. No other country has used it. No other country has witnessed the deploying of these missiles. So this 90% target strike probability is probably fake. That kind of reminds me of China's 6th generation fighter jet, which is supposed to leave anything that America has years behind, even though there's no outside independent confirmation that it's actually true. Or China's new nuclear submarine that was supposed to blow anything the US had out of the water, and then it just sank at dock back in 2024. Now, I'm not saying the Chinese CM-302 can't damage an aircraft carrier. I just don't trust that 90% accuracy figure, especially against a ship that is moving at full speed, like 30 to 35 knots. Then there's the fact that carrier strike groups provide several layers of defense for the actual carrier, and then the carrier itself is very, very hard to sink just because its hulls are so thick and compartmentalized. And I would very much like to know how the Chinese know that their CM-302 is a carrier killer if they've never used it against an American aircraft carrier. What carriers did China test these missiles on to give it that name? But even if all of China's claims about that missile are true, they are putting this missile in the hands of Iran, a country that had to actually lie about shooting down F-35 fighter jets during the 12-day war. And they ended up admitting that they lied. Iran is a country that is still struggling on knowing how to operate its own air defense systems towards its own planes. And that was pretty old technology. I'm wondering how effectively the Iranian military could use something as modern as the Chinese CM-302. But I'm not really sure what threat the carrier killer missiles are going to be to the US naval assets currently in the Middle East, because the missiles aren't even in Iran yet. They haven't even finished the deal. Right now, the biggest threat to the US carrier strike groups in the Middle East is their sewage problem. Thanks for watching.
I think it's imminent.
Before I play this clip, if you don't know, my last report about this, that there were, guys, out of 650 toilets, okay, on the USS Ford, guys, only 5 were functional. There's sewage all over, backing up all inside this carrier. Like, it's ridiculous. And there was no plan on how to fix this. So you had over 4,000 service people, well, soldiers, okay, military people on this carrier who had to use 5 toilets. Sometimes the lines were up to 3 hours long just to use the facilities. Now they've docked off of the coast of Greece. I don't know if they've gone in to try to, obviously they're probably there. They did that in order to have allowed them to go out, take showers, because they weren't able to take showers either. The entire water system was messed up. And so allowed them to take showers, use the bathroom. And I'm thinking giving them some time to actually fix the toilets. But essentially can you imagine the morale that is on this carrier, that is on this ship, if they're not even able to use the bathroom or take a shower? So I know that they're going to get it fixed, but we don't know how long that is going to take. So you have, although we have all these military capabilities, there are real logistical issues that we still have to deal with. And it's just so crazy to me, with all our capabilities, that they weren't able to get these toilets up and running, or that they even backed up in the first place. But these are the kind of like the real world things that people don't think about when it comes to war. But I'm hopefully we get some news soon that our military service members will not have to suffer through living through. Can you imagine the smell on that thing? It has to be absolutely disgusting. And then once that's all, let's say they clean it all up. Once they fix it, then they have to go through the whole process of cleaning that all up. We don't know what's gotten damaged because the water was piling up high. Feces was everywhere. It was absolutely disgusting. But again, my main concern in all of this, even with this war, are the lives and the welfare of our military members. As you guys know, my mother was in the Air Force for a long time. I personally grew up in the Pentagon. Yes, during the summer, there's ramps. There's like no steps in the Pentagon. So I would take my little scooter and just be riding around the ramps. It was so fun back in the day. It was like a really fun place to be, especially it was mostly in the summertime or after school. I would be there. My mother would work late. My father actually worked for the National Science Foundation, which is a whole thing getting into computers and AI that he can give you stories about. So again, that is always my main concern. But Let's continue.
I think it's imminent. I mean, it's a matter of days. War looks inevitable to me because President Trump has been not just assembling a huge arsenal to strike Iran, but also because President Trump has been clearly signaling that he is seeking the submission of the Islamic Republic.
When Iran comes to the negotiating table in Geneva, in terms of their leverage, how weak or how strong are they?
I think that they are much weaker, without a doubt, than they have ever been. In terms of leverage at the negotiating table, it's a counter-strike or, drawing or dragging the United States into a war that President Trump has always criticized. He's been opposed to forever wars, so the Iranians are playing with that.
I've been speaking to a few people in Iran who have been quite vocal on their desire for foreign intervention, and from the United States, they do want American bombs to fall. What is the opinion of others that you're speaking with about foreign intervention into Iran?
What I continue to hear is deep anger and a desire to see a new system of governance in Iran. People are fed up and done with the Islamic Republic and deeply despise Iran's supreme leader. In tandem to that, I'm hearing a lot of concerns. There's no plan for the so-called day after. There are concerns about Iran's fragmentation, chaos, civil war, violence. So it's easy to call for regime change, but getting to the change in regime and building a better system of governance is going to be very costly.
Now, I want to get into biblical prophecy because I think it's inevitable. I don't want war. I think most Americans are opposed to war. This is what President Trump ran on. But things have changed, and we know that they're going to change. We have had just this year alone some of the craziest things we've ever seen. Even them now going to disclose aliens, and all of this movement, all of these things are happening at the same time of digital ID. I told you the Mark of the Beast system has rolled out. All of these things are converging at once. And it is very important to understand that this war in Iran, it's inevitable, it's biblical, and it is part of fulfilling biblical prophecy to usher in the end times, to bring about Jesus Christ. And I just want to make a distinction because a lot of people don't understand. The rapture is us, those who believe in Jesus Christ. We will be raptured in the clouds with the Lord, with Jesus Christ. He does not return to earth until the final judgment after the 7-year tribulation. So once we are raptured, that marks the beginning of the 7-year tribulation, where there will be wars, famine. Guys, I made a mistake before when I told you that there will be locusts that will feed on you and you will not die. Not only will they feed on you, but they have stingers on the back of them, okay, like scorpion stingers that will sting you, and it will leave you sick and in pain for months and months and months. And I described them before having a lion's body, but I made a mistake because they have like a lion's head with a human face and lion's teeth, claws like a lion, but a horse's body and giant wings, and then a scorpion tail. That is what's going to be coming out of the earth. There are depictions of these creatures in ancient civilizations. You can see them all over temples and drawings and things, that these things existed during the time of Noah. And we know that the end times, these creatures, these monsters are returning, right? They are returning, okay, for the end times. And it's going to be worse than anyone can imagine. 200 million of Satan's hell riders. Okay, the 4 angels, the 4 fallen angels that are locked, essentially imprisoned under the Euphrates River, they're going to come out, guys, and they are going to kill a third of the world's population. Yes, over 2 billion people. They are going to end up killing these 4 angels alone. And if you don't know, the Euphrates River, I'm going to do an update on it. It's been going down, down, down. I mean, it has been drying up at a rapid pace. People are now hearing sounds and groans. They're discovering tunnels and these structures underneath the Euphrates. We are seeing all of this unfolding. And whether I want war or not, this is what is inevitable. It's what the Bible has said is going to happen. Things are never getting better. The Bible never promises that. That's actually a humanist thinking that we've been brainwashed into. Things will continue to get worse. And our job as Christians is to endure in the end, until the end, to preach the gospel and to endure. The Bible keeps talking about enduring. Okay. We will not be left to suffer God's wrath, because that is what tribulation is. And then the final judgment. But we will not be left to suffer that wrath. And so I want people to understand that, as these things unfold, you don't have to be afraid, right? We are just now tying real world events for the first time directly to biblical prophecy. And never in the history of the world have we had everything converging at once. Not in this way. People may have said it in the past. They wanted Jesus to return. He's returning soon. He's returning soon. Okay, they may have felt that way and they were actually doing what they're called to do. But understand, right now, what we're seeing, we are literally the last generation. We are the last people. We are seeing it. It's not just a feeling. It's not just one or two things, but every single thing predicted in the word of God is converging right now, including the birth pains of the earth, with natural signs and wonders all over the place. So it is very important that you put it in that perspective, or you'll just be, in chaos or not really understanding how critical this is. It is paramount that we pay attention to these details, or we're going to be left without oil in our lamps. We're going to be just thinking that time's going to keep going on, making our plans. We're going to just be living our lives. But I'm telling you now, we are in the last seconds of the last days. And I always like to remind you guys, like, I switched my content like almost overnight. It was like God told me I needed to start speaking on these things, tying the Bible to real world events to wake people up, because I truly believe that is the calling God has on my life. So let's go ahead and play this.
The Bible says that this attack at the end of time will come on Israel from the north and the south, and that will be the final war, the war to end all wars that will usher in the end of time. Now, here's the question. Are we entering into that war right now? In Ezekiel 38 and 39, it mentions nations, Gog and Magog. That would be like modern day Russia. It also mentions Persia in Ezekiel 38 and 39. That corresponds to modern day Iran. What we do know is that if Iran enters the war, that Turkey and Russia will probably go with them. Right behind them will be North Korea and China. And if all of the world powers start attacking from the north and the south, start trying to attack Israel, that could be the war to end all wars that ushers in the end of history.
A 2,500-year-old prophecy is unfolding before our eyes. What Ezekiel predicted about Iran and Israel will send chills down your spine. In Ezekiel chapter 38, the prophet describes a final war between Israel and a coalition of nations. But here's what's shocking. He names the exact countries by their ancient names: Persia, modern-day Iran, Gomer, Turkey, Put, Libya, and they're all aligning against Israel right now. Now let me explain the ancient prediction. Ezekiel wrote, "In the latter days you will come against the land of Israel, you and all your troops and the many peoples with you." But here's the spine-chilling part. He predicted they would come from the far north. Iran sits directly north of Israel. The geography matches perfectly. Even more terrifying, he said this would happen when Israel is dwelling securely in unwalled villages. For 2,000 years, Israel didn't exist. Then in 1948, they became a nation again. Ezekiel said they would be gathered from many nations and brought back from the sword. Today, Iran threatens Israel's existence. They allegedly fund Hamas, Hezbollah, and openly call for Israel's destruction. The alliance Ezekiel described is forming exactly as predicted. But here's what Ezekiel says happens next. God himself intervenes. "I will rain down fire and brimstone." The attacking armies are supernaturally destroyed. Iran's current threats, Israel's isolation, the UN turning against them. It's all setting the stage for the most dramatic divine intervention in human history. We're not just watching news, we're witnessing prophecy. Every headline brings us closer. Iran's nuclear program, Israel's isolation, the Abraham Accords, creating peace and security. Even the timing matches Ezekiel's predictions. Brethren, this isn't coincidence. This is divine orchestration playing out exactly as written 2,500 years ago.
And not just the Abraham Accords, guys, the Board of Peace, which just had their first meeting. I've got to do an update on that. we are looking at, again, and that ties into the 10 kings. Like I've told you, if none of this is fun, like clocking, because I still have people who say, well, no. I need you to open your eyes. I need you to even look at some of my past videos to show you how all of these things are tying together and converging. Do I want war? No, absolutely no. None of us do. But it's not, it's not about what we want or not. It's like, we don't have any power to stop it. What are we going to do? We're going to vote it out. We're going to change something. We're going to protest. We've seen that does not make a difference. But it is, once you put it into this divine perspective and understand that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, and that everything is moving along in God's timing to bring about an appointed end, you can rest assured and understand that not only is our rescue coming from the Lord soon enough, but also that we can have a joy in our heart, regardless of the problems that we're seeing around this world, regardless of the problems in our own lives. I'm seeing so many people who, so many Christians are being attacked, not just spiritually, but financially, their families. Maybe you are one of the people who are speaking these things, trying to tell friends and family, and they're just not listening. They don't want to hear it. I was shocked at how many people don't know about the Epstein files, aren't paying attention about that. They know more about Savannah Guthrie's mother missing, which I think is a psyop. I just do. And most people who've been following it now believe it's a psyop, a distraction. They know more about that than they do about the Epstein files. Or people are just going about their lives as though it doesn't matter that they're sacrificing children to Baal and Moloch, or that they're eating them, and the jerky and all of the disgusting things, the DNA manipulation. It's like, and you can see how you're trying to maybe sound the alarm, and it's like there's these blinders on people. But the Bible also says that, but I don't want you to be discouraged by it, okay? Because you're doing what you're called to do, regardless if people want to listen or not. And just like it says that the end times will be like the times of Noah, that is what you're in, crying out, okay? Noah built that ark. A lot of people don't realize this. It was 120 years that Noah was building that ark. People were making fun of him, okay? They could not understand what he was doing. And then finally, when they were all on that ark, what happened? The rain began to fall. All right. So we are in that season. So not just like Noah, when people don't want to listen, that don't think that it's nothing personal. It's not against you personally, but Satan has blinded people to the truth. All you can do is plant the seed, then somebody else maybe can water, and God will give the increase. So with that, guys, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And yeah, check out realmelanieking.com. The link will be below to help support the work that I have going on. And I will see you on the next one.